All right. Welcome back to Gridiron 64 podcast, where today the guys join me as we'll be talking, we'll be breaking down week four's football schedule that was on the Gridiron. It'll be Johnny and Tony with myself. We'll be breaking down the games. Guys, how you doing? Tony, how you doing today?
Doing all right, man.
Johnny, how you doing?
Doing good.
All right. And we had maybe I think 11 games last week on our schedule. There were some pretty good ones. So we're going to break them down for you week four. And so if you guys are ready, let's break these games down. The first game we're going to talk about was the Ingleside Mustangs. They were playing the Carrizo Springs Wildcats. Of course, Ingleside won that game 28-20. Tony, we'll start with you today. What do you think about that game? Mustangs, one touchdown win over Carrizo Springs.
I knew Ingleside was going to win. I thought that they would win bigger than that, just going based off of the AP Carrizo score game. I mean, a win is a win. It wasn't as big as I thought it would be, but, it's momentum going into next week. So congratulations to Ingleside for taking the win.
Johnny?
Yeah, I also had picked Ingleside just because of that head-to-head matchup with Ingleside and AP Carrizo. So I thought too it was going to be a little bit more lopsided score. I was kind of impressed, I guess, by Carrizo. I guess as the season goes on, teams get better, over time, stuff like that. So Ingleside got to pick it up though, man. That one touchdown, you can't win by one touchdown, so. That should be the thing to go for.
Well, I'll tell you guys, I thought Ingleside was going to beat Carrizo just by the way Carrizo Springs have been playing. I thought Ingleside, was going to get a little bit more momentum. They'd win by a few touchdowns. This was actually a lot closer than what I thought. So you're right. Teams like Carrizo Springs, as the season, as they play every week, this team eventually will get better. Now, even though they took the loss, they competed with Ingleside. So I don't think Carrizo Springs is quite as tough. So I don't know what this says about Ingleside as they move forward. You got to remember, Ingleside is now going to be in this district with us, where they're going to be playing Rockport. They're going to be playing Sitton. And so, if they want to be competitive, you got to beat these teams by more than just a touchdown, I think. But, then you've got Westoso, Robstown. So it's very likely that Ingleside still are going to make the playoffs, but I was really surprised that Ingleside only won, by a touchdown. But then again, a win's a win. Maybe it was just an off week. I'm not really sure. I didn't see the game, but we'll pay attention to Ingleside next week, and we'll see what they do. But I was a little surprised with you guys that they only won by a touchdown. So
they're also coming off a real tight win over Aransas too. So. That's back-to-back weeks that haven't been too impressive. So
true, and they've got to be real careful because even though these guys like Westoso, that are struggling now, they're probably going to get better every week. And if you don't come with your A game, those teams like a team like Westoso can come from behind or sneak up on you and get a win. So you're right. There's 2 weeks that they're 3-1 right now. The Mustangs are. But they're 2 out of those 3 wins. They haven't been very impressive. So we're going to have to keep a close eye on Ingleside and see what they do in the next, few weeks before they play, get into district play. Game 2 on our schedule was the Rostown Cotton Pickers against the TM Warriors. Now, the 3 of us all picked TM. Johnny, I'll let you break this game down first. But again, the Rostown Cotton Pickers couldn't score a point. So, it's probably going to be a long year for those cotton pickers. What was your take on this game?
My reaction to that right away was TM, just because of Robstown not being able to score any points this year. So you got to score points to win some ball games and stuff like that. So, that was pretty easy for me with TM. TM's been playing some, decent teams out there. So they got that momentum going for them. And obviously, that 42-0 score they're ready for Robstown for that game. So Robstown needs to pick it up on their scoring and stuff like that. So uh, just give them time, I guess.
Yeah, Tony, it was 42-0. So I mean, the three of us picked TM. We kind of knew the TM was going to win big. Um, but Robstown couldn't probably get any offense. I mean, they didn't even score a touchdown in this game. What does that say for the Cotton Pickers moving forward? And just kind of break down what you saw, what you think of this game. TM 42, Robstown 0.
Well, again, like we all agreed, we knew Tilos Midway was going to win the game. Uh, Robstown just has been a struggling program for a while. I'd like to see them be more competitive. Because it helps the other teams that make the playoffs get better and prepare for the playoffs. But I just as an area team, I would like them to be stronger. But they're just going to have to learn how to play 4 quarters of football, and they're going to have to learn how to score some points. I mean, the teams that they got in district are high scoring teams. They're high scoring offenses, and if they ever want to have a chance, they got to figure it out. You know what I mean? And then defensively allowing 42 points, that's just way too much. So I don't know what's going on in Robstown, but they need to pick it up, and they need to figure it out before district play if they want to get that spot in the playoffs.
Well, TM, their size, they've got one of the biggest lines in the Coastal Bend. They're big. They can run. That quarterback, can run and throw. So I didn't think that Robstown had a chance to win this game against TM. But when you see that zero, and I've talked about this in past podcasts where in the past when I see this team, it's almost like it's expected, before we even go into the game that we're going to lose, and the results show that. And just what was it, a week or two ago when they were beating Skidmore? That's a smaller school. And then Skidmore comes back and is able to pull out the win. That doesn't say very much for your program. And so then you go play a team that's about your size, maybe a little bigger than you, and then you get whipped 42-0. So that just tells me a lot about when they get into this district play and they've got Rockport and they've got Sinton and they're going to have Ingleside. It's going to be very tough for them to even pick up a win. So, we'll see what they do next week and the week after that. But this could be a very long season for those Cotton Pickers again. Game 3, we had the London Pirates and the West Oso Bears. Of course, the three of us picked the London Pirates. No shocker here. London beats West Oso 36-7. Tony, I'm going to tell you, I expected West Oso. I expect still West Oso to be a little better as the season goes. This is a London team, though, that is very tough. It was very tough for West Oso to get anything going because we just know London and even though that's a pretty small school, that's a really good school. They'll be in the playoffs. We've seen what they can do in the last couple of weeks. So no shocker that London beat West Oso 36-7. But break it down for us. Did you see any highlights of this game? Did you see anything that West Oso did that maybe they can still build on for next week?
Yeah, London, like you said, London, they haven't been a school for a long time. Maybe 5-6 years, something like that. But since they started playing football, I mean, they started off with a decent program. I remember when their first season, they only played JV schools, or JV teams or whatever it was. But man, they've been pretty impressive since they started playing football. West Oso, I think the coaches are still trying to figure out what weapons they have, and like I said before, West Oso always has athletes, and they got coaches that don't know who they are, don't know the kids yet. It's been 5 or 6 weeks, practicing with these kids, and they didn't know them before that. I think they'll figure it out. I think that for district, I think Ingleside and West Oso will probably be the fighting for that last spot in the playoffs. Um, but West Oso just I think they're gonna figure it out. I think they're gonna figure it out. London's not a pushover team. They lost to George West, who's not a pushover team. I mean, their losses have been to teams that are pretty good. You know what I mean? So it's not saying a whole lot about what they can or can't do, but they just need to figure it out and be able to start scoring more points. And that's what they need to do. They need to figure out how to start scoring more points.
And Johnny and I, we kind of figured that with Westoso's new coach, his first year, here, it was going to be kind of like a struggle, especially with, the district that they're going to be in. Um, but I think Tony's right. I think they're still trying to figure a lot of things out. I just hope they get a couple of wins. But right now, they've got, I don't know who they've got next week. But playing in London wasn't going to be any easier. They take the loss, but what was your take on this loss for Westoso?
Uh, I was trying to look for some highlights. I really wanted to know what was going on with that game, being like 36-7 game. Uh, I couldn't find no really good highlights on it, or any highlights on it really. The thing that stood out on me that I don't know if it was a typo or whatever, but you know, London only had 151 total yards, you know, and also had 123 total yards. So I want to know if there was some turnovers, some interceptions going on. Um, I never dug into that. That was kind of unusual for London to only get 151 yards, especially on West Oslo. It's almost like they're competing against the total yards. Whether it was a typo or not, I don't know. That's a, that score don't resemble the total yards what London had. So I was wondering if there was any kind of like a lot of turnovers that game.
Well,
But
the type.
what's that?
The typo. Yeah, when you think of a 36 to one touchdown game, right? You think there's going to be more than that many more than that many yards for the winning team, right? Because I mean, look at the margin of points that they won by. But tonight you get 200 yards. That kind of tells you did Westoso actually play a good defensive game, but just turnovers cost them the game. Because that could be a possibility if it's not a typo. I'm going to look into that. Because if that's the case, if that's how much yards they actually got and won the game, I mean, then you can build on that if you're West Oso. I mean, you're saying, hey,
Yeah, I
man,
mean, it seemed like they were fight. To me, they were fighting if it was correctly. If the yards are correct. I mean, that they put up a fight. Something went on there. So I don't know.
wow, that is something to look into. And if that is true, then West Oso could be. I mean, it's every week when you have a new coach. That's what you want to do. You're just hoping to get better every week. And if that wasn't a typo, and those are the yards that were actually correct on both teams. And I'd say Westoso's defense showed up, and this London team offense can put up some points. So
Yeah.
we'll have to just check it out and see, how London scored those 36 points. It's very interesting. Um, the next game that we had on our schedule was Poteet Aggies and the Sinton Pirates. Of course, Johnny and I picked the Pirates. Tony went with Poteet. Sinton got their first win of the year, 41-7. Tony, this win by Sinton, does it say anything? Does it say
Well,
anything about their win?
I I I wanted Sinton to win. Okay, I was rooting for Sinton. The only reason I went with Poteet is because they were 3-0 and Sinton was 0-3, and not that Sinton didn't lose to some pretty good teams. Uh, Sinton's a good ball club, and they always are every year. Even if they have a rough start, they always figure it out as the weeks go by. Uh, but I think this is a spark that their boys needed. I think this is a spark that they needed, and uh, we're gonna start seeing the real Sinton team. You know what I mean? I think moving forward, I think we'll start to really see what they can do. I mean, even the games that they lost, they scored a lot of points, so they're scoring some points. They got an offense that can score. Defensively, they got to find the holes and they got to fix them, and I think they will. So, hats off to
Tony,
Sinton.
Johnny, did this win impress you at all? I mean, do you now go back and say, oh man, Sinton's back? I mean, does this win here, beating Poteet, do you then turn around and say, you're a high school fan? Not just a fan of the Pirates of the Sin Pirates, but you're just a fan in general, and you say, "Man, this is the win they needed. They're back." Does this win make a statement like that for the Sin Pirates?
The points, the yards, yes, as a fan, it looks great, you know. But it was Poteet, you know. Poteet 3-0, yes, against 0-8 teams, you know. So that was the reason why I picked Sitton easily on that one. Um, hey, but it's any momentum going into the next game. A big win, big yardage will get you there. You know, their they had they had 305 yards rushing, which that's what they should have did against Miller instead of worrying about passing going on, airing it out with them. If they were to focus like they did this game with the rushing, the 305 yards, they probably would have got that win against Miller themselves. So maybe a little balance there to what they needed to do over there and stuff like that. But I wouldn't. I would just go with just the big win, the yardage. You got to get any kind of momentum going to your next game. You're out of that winless column. So hey, something to look forward to for them. You just build up from there.
Yeah, I think you're right. You're both right. I mean, a win's a win. It makes you feel good, even if it's a team that you should beat. Uh, a win's a win, and you guys, as I've always said in this podcast, you guys play football. You know what a win can do. When you go out there and you play tough, and they played Orange Grove tough, and they lost it, and they played Beeville tough, and they lost it, and then they played Miller tough. So they played one half of football on the three first games. They played really good football. They just have not played four quarters, as Tony talks about in his podcast. You got to be able to put four quarters. This was the first time, even though if it's a team against a team like Poti, right? You still played really good four quarters. I think the coaches can take some good out of this, and so a win's a win. So they feel good going into practice next week. Hey, we've got one win under our belt. Now let's build on that. But I will tell you guys this: the next game they got coming up isn't going to be a poteam. So it's going. That's why I was asking. Is this a big win? Because the team that's just right around the corner is no poteam at all. And so it just gets right back, and we'll talk about that. When we get to the week five predictions. But a win's a win right now. You celebrate it over the weekend. You get back on Monday. You start practicing hard on Tuesday because I don't know if you'll be in school on Monday. But great win for the Sitting Pirates. Good to see them. Get out of or get that win on that W that column, and let's see if that can give them momentum into next week. Next game, we'll talk about the Navarro Panthers and the Cuero Gobblers. And so the three of us picked Navarro. Cuero surprised the three of us. Cuero takes the win 42-21. Now, Johnny, this one, when I saw the score, I was like, where has this been? I mean, we saw Cuero. You picked Cuero a couple of times and they let you down. All of a sudden, man, was their stars out and they just came back to play? I mean, how do you explain this 42-21 win over Navarro?
That is hard to explain. I mean, I think they even had a big lead at the half. I was checking up scores. And I don't remember quite. I think it was like 20-0 or something like that. They had a huge lead to start off the game, and I was like, no way. But I was just thinking, could they finish this game off? Pretty much. And it proved to me they doubled up their score from the half. So they basically played the whole four quarters, and just like you said, I've been picking Cuero. I've been picking Cuero. Like this is their building year. Like last week, the previous week, I basically gave up on them. Like, well, I've been picking them all this time, and they're playing Navarro. So, I'm easily going to go with Navarro. There's going to be Cuero's building up here. But, hey, this is a great win for them to start building up and go on from there. I mean, Navarro ain't no mediocre team, So that is a great win for them to move up to. Like you said, where were these players at? Maybe they were missing too. So, we'll
Yeah,
see
you
how they
just
go.
don't know. Yeah, Tony. I mean, we know what Cuero can do. I mean, they even when they're struggling, they're a very dangerous team. They have a winning program. They've had a winning program for years. I think even back, Johnny, when you played, I don't know if you guys ever played Cuero, but even in the early '90s, Cuero has always been a powerhouse. They've always dominated year in and year out, even when they have not such a good year. That's a team that you always got to prepare for because you never know. They've got athletes every year down there. And so, starting off this week, you wonder, starting off the season, they were really getting blown out. Now they didn't have no, preseason games, the two-a-days and stuff. And so I don't know with this pandemic if this is something that it took them a while to get their groove. But let me tell you, Tony, the first win against a Navarro Panther team that we know or we think are going to be in the playoffs again this year. That's a big win for that Cuero program, man. 42-21. That's a statement. What was your thoughts on this game and Cuero getting that big win over Navarro?
Well, I think I'm just as stunned as Navarro is. I mean, Navarro was ranked. I think they were ranked in the top 10, top 20, something like that. I know they were ranked pretty high in state, and Cuero has not been impressive so far. So, man, I mean, hats off to Cuero, and like we talked previously about Sinton, just beating Poteet, does that change their momentum? And I hope it does. But this definitely has to be a momentum changer for Cuero. I mean, when you beat a team like Navarro, I mean that changes you know your mentality for the rest of the season. I mean you build off of that, and you're gonna do great. So I think they have a chance of really making the rest of their season bright after a win like that if they just keep building on that.
Well, they're in our region, so we'll see what this builds up. I mean, Navarro and Wimberley are there with us. The Hondo, Crystal City, Pearsall, they're with us, and then of course you got Rockport, and then the Valley teams. So, I mean, potentially, we make a playoff run, and Cuero makes a playoff run. Who knows if we'll meet up with these guys? But they are in our region. To get out of the region, we'd have to go through a team like Cuero, between a team like Wimberley or a team like Navarro. I mean, we usually have to get past these guys to get out of the region. So this win by Cuero is very interesting. They beat a really good opponent. And who knows, maybe Cuero and Navarro will meet up again in the playoffs. I mean, I don't know. That's a possibility. So great win for the Cuero Gobblers. And I think as we continue to talk about this team, this Cuero Gobbler team, in our predictions, maybe we've got to pay a little bit closer attention to them now and not just say, oh, well, they're going to have a bad season with this win. We're going to have to really make sure, can they win another game, or was this just luck? And will it be a downfall? I guess time will tell. Corn City Badgers, and they went up against the Odom Owls. Now, the three of us picked the Owls. Owls win 31-20. Johnny, what was your take on Odom yet getting another win this season?
Um, Odom's just been playing good, and that's basically what I went by. It was gut feeling. Um, I think Odom's going to be a contender still in their district and stuff like that. They got a pretty decent quarterback over there, so he can run the ball, he can throw the ball. So I tried to look for his height because that boy looks pretty tall over there. I don't know what his height is over there, but he looks kind of tall up there. He's over 6 foot easily, obviously. So it's somebody to look into and stuff like that. His name's was it Hunter Dawson, and he kind of had some few good highlights this game. So that's somebody you want to look into. He can be a little dangerous himself. So that district need to be paying attention to him too.
True. Tony, Odom, speaking of speed now, they started out, with that loss in week one, and it kind of shocked us. But here lately, they've been picking it up, and as they've been getting wins, they've been getting, as Johnny said, they've been more impressive in their wins. They're putting a full game together. They're doing some things we didn't see in week one. So maybe Odom this year, they just got a little late start. But what was your take on Odom's win?
Yeah, I think they definitely are getting off to a late start. I mean, think about who they lost to. Is they lost to Ingleside. Ingleside's been playing some pretty good football right now. Um, so I think Odom's gonna definitely be a contender in their district. But I still, like I said, I called it last week. I still think Taft is gonna win that district. So um, we'll see what happens. It should be a good game.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that district showdown, and I think they play toward the end of the regular season. I'm not sure, but I think I saw that their game kind of comes toward the end of the season. It may come down for the district title, but yeah, Odom, you can never count them out. They've been a powerhouse in that district for years now. And a slow start, we'll keep an eye on them and see what they do the rest of the regular season as they get into the district. But it does seem like they're now starting to pick up some speed now, and this could be real dangerous. But we'll see what Odom can do in the next few weeks. The next game that we'll be talking about was kind of a shocker for me. I think it'll be a shocker for you guys too because it was the Tap Greyhounds playing the Kennedy Lions, and I was kind of paying attention to this game as on Fridays I was at the high school of the Rockport game, and it's 13-13 at halftime. That kind of shocked me a little bit because I thought the Tap would blow this team out. And then at the very end, when I went to the highlights, I saw that Kennedy won the game 33. Or at least it was posted that they won 33-13. This is the big win for Kennedy. I didn't know much about Kennedy, but Tap was on a roll. I mean, they were scoring a lot of points. And I thought that Tap would win this easy. I know Johnny thought that Tap would win this game. The three of us got it wrong because we all picked the Greyhounds. But Johnny, what happened in this game with Tap? They scored 13 points. Through the first 3 weeks, they were almost unstoppable. That offense, they would just find everything. They were just like a well-oiled machine. And here, Kenny's able to just hold them to 13 points. So, give us the breakdown of this Tap Kennedy game.
Well, we all knew Tap was that high scoring team. They got those points up there and stuff like that. The only way you're going to stop a team like that is kill that clock, man. You got to kill that clock. Just run, 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 run. Kennedy had 311 yards rushing. That's quite a bit of yards rushing to put on the team. Usually when you get 300 yards, you're not going to lose a game. And usually when you got that much, you're going to kill that clock. And that's one thing that keeps the ball away from an explosive team like Tap. So it looked like Tap didn't do that 4 quarters this time like they usually have been. So they found a little competition. So maybe they're gonna have to suck it up for the next 4. Complete it all 4 instead of blowing everybody out. So, but I'm not gonna count Tap at all out. So it's a wake up call. It's lose that game right now. Get that loss out of the way. From here, there's still plenty of the season left. It's better to get that loss now than later on in the season. So, I'm not giving up on Tap whatsoever.
Right, Tony, and maybe like Johnny's saying, maybe this was. I mean, you're winning, big. It's not even close, and so you might get that mentality where, hey, man, we're really that good. Maybe a loss like this brings you back down to earth. There can be some positives to a loss like this, but Johnny said, Kennedy went 300 plus yards on the ground. I think it was. He said. And so that can frustrate your offense. Your defense can't get off the field. There can be some frustrations on those Greyhounds. So, what was your take on Tap's loss? Because we basically didn't give him much thought, just thinking that Tap was going to roll into this. I mean, we basically thought that Tap would go undefeated until they met Referio. That didn't happen. So, what's your breakdown on Tap losing to Kennedy?
Well, I think it's one of those. Taft is on a high right now. You know what I mean? They're 3-0, scored a lot of points. Everyone on every team they played. Uh, I think that I think it's a good thing. I think it's a good thing because kind of like Poteet, being 3-0, they probably thought, oh man, we're gonna go and play an 0-3 team, and then boom, Sinton whips them. I mean, whips them. And I think that's kind of what happened here. You know what I mean? Taft, was playing a good game, 13-13, and man, you got to play 4 quarters. I mean, Kennedy wasn't ready to give the game up, and Kennedy wanted to play the whole game, and that's what it looked like in the second half. Being able to pull away with the win like that. So I think this is a wake up call for Taft, and like Johnny said, I'm not going to count him out. I already called it last week. I think Taft's going to win district, and I think they need a loss like this to really get them back in line and get their focus again.
Well, I'll tell you this. I was shocked. I really thought that Tap was going to blow out Kennedy. I didn't even think it was going to be close. So when it was 13-13 and a half, I was shocked. But I still thought at that time that Tap would pull it out. And then when I saw, the margin of points that they lost by, it was real shocking to me. Um, but I'm with you guys too. It's just one loss. I still think Tap's going to be very competitive. They've already shown that offense can score. Um, some points. I don't see that changing as the season progresses. I think it's going to come down to Tap and Odom. It always pretty much does. And this time, and I predicted that Tap. I thought Tap. I still think Tap will win the district. Well, I think it'll come down to Tap and Odom. But it's been a turnaround. So, Tap didn't even make the playoffs last year, and to start off, 3-0. it's big for this team. They still got a lot of momentum. It's just one loss. It's no big deal. If I'm the coach, saying, look, we look at, they maybe exploited some of the weaknesses on that defense, which is something good for the coaches to be able to look in and work on before district starts. But I'm going to tell you, man, next week it's not going to get any easier for those Greyhounds because they got the referral Bobcats coming in, and we'll talk about that in our predictions. So, this could quickly go to 3-2. Of course, most teams in the Coastal Bend probably wouldn't be able to compete with referral. But what you want to see is Taft get back on track, and that defense being able to be competitive. But no matter what happens, this was a loss for the Greyhounds. I still think they'll be fighting for that district spot at the end. And I do actually see the Greyhounds being in the playoffs this year for the first time. They didn't make it last year, but I do see them in the playoffs. I'd be very shocked if Taft doesn't make the playoffs. So I'm not giving up on those Greyhounds. I think they're still going to do good, and there's a really good chance that they're going to win district. So we'll keep a close eye on those Greyhounds as the season progresses. And Game number 9 on our schedule was the Somerset Bulldogs and the Beeville Trojans. Now, the three of us picked Beeville, and we were correct. Beeville beat Somerset 34-13. So, Johnny, I'll ask you, is Beeville now starting to pick up some steam like Odom? Now they're becoming impressive. Is this a team with this win that's now going to get on some type of winning streak going into district?
Yes, this is a good momentum. I think Vivo has a schedule. They got a good full schedule, good tight. They're not playing any pushover teams. This is a great way to start your preseason. And the win against over Somerset, proved it. They actually Vivo was actually losing at the half, 13-7. So Vivo blew it by in the second half. It's one of those where it's something that you want to lead into, going. I basically I'm just saying is like the preseason schedule is not weak, and that's a great way to start off your district. So people's going to go in that district pretty strong. I wouldn't say they're going to be a pushover team. That's a strong team to go against, and their defense was just remarkable. They only gave up 1 rushing yard the entire game. So that's something that Beaver has on their side. Is a defense.
Well, I'll tell you what, Johnny, they're going to need that defense when they get in the district. They got some really strong teams up in district. But it's good to see them picking up some wins here and gaining some momentum as they just got a few games left. I think before they get in the district. We all know Sosa. He's been around. I think his son is the offensive coordinator there for Beagle. So, he learned under his father as well, and they're going to need these tough teams because their district isn't going to be easy at all. They got TM, Cal Allen, Calhoun, Miller. So it's going to be very interesting when district starts. But a great win for the Trojans. And hopefully they can keep it rolling up until they get into district play. The 10th game on our schedule is the Gonzales Apaches and the Lavernia Bears. And the three of us picked Lavernia. We were correct. Lavernia beat Gonzales 47-16. Tony, were you surprised at how big Lavernia beat Gonzales?
I'm not. I'm not surprised. Gonzales is usually a competitive team, but Lavernia has been very explosive. Like I said, the last few years, and I'm surprised that they haven't made a really long run in the playoffs close to state. I know they did maybe 3 years ago whenever we played them, but they've been very impressive, and they've had some impressive wins already. So it does not surprise me that Lavernia won.
Johnny, what was your take on Lavernia's big win over Gonzales?
Lavernia is just a powerhouse. I think it was just a mismatch for Gonzales. So it was easy that Lavernia was going to get this. The total yards was big on mismatch. Lavernia had 566 yards total offense, 315 yards passing. So yeah, it was not a great matchup for that. That was easily Lavernia's 2 up there to be with Gonzalez. So that was not really predictable as far as how that game was going to come out.
Yeah, I think Lavernia we can say is for real. They're gonna make some noise in the playoffs. It's gonna be a good team to watch. We know Lavernia pretty well, as Tony stated. They used to be in our district, and we used to have. I mean, they used to be some really good Rockport Fort Power teams, and they were beating us. So that team has always been tough, and it seems like this year's no different. And they're gonna probably get into the playoffs and make some noise once they get in there. So and great win for the Lavernia Bears. And game number 11 on the schedule, which is the 10th one that we're talking about. It was Canyon Lake Hawks versus Jordanton Indians. Now, the three of us, we went with Canyon Lake and we lost. Jordanton wins 38, then they beat Canyon Lake 24. Not explainable, but Johnny, try to explain what happened here. What happened to the Canyon Lake Hawks?
I don't know. I don't see Jordanton being that great. I mean, they shut me up pretty much. Canyon Lake is Canyon Lake. Then they beat Beeville. And this is that was a shocker to me, complete shocker. Just like the Taft. This was another one. I didn't think this game was going to be close either. So heads up, hey, I give it up to Jordanton.
Tony, Jordanton played a couple of weeks ago when they played Cal Allen. It was kind of close toward the end, and then Cal Allen blew them out. So they hung with Cal Allen for a while. But as you've always stated, you got to play 4 quarters. And when you don't, you get blown out. The end result with Cal Allen was Cal Allen blew them out. They scored 50 points over. They scored 50 points over them. So Jordanton really didn't impress me because of the amount of points they gave up to Cal Allen. Then again, I say, well, that's Cal Allen. I really thought Canyon Lake was going to beat Jordanton. I mean, Jordanton comes out and beats, Canyon Lake. So you were one that also picked Canyon Lake. What's your take on this Canyon Lake loss to Jordanton?
Well, I think this is just kind of like Taft. Taft being undefeated and winning big. Every game they had. Really just coming off of a high. And then you play a team like Jordanton who has a few losses. I mean, of course, not to no pushover teams, but I think maybe Canyon Lake probably went to this game, with the chip on their shoulder, and Jordanton had an answer for them. You know what I mean? And Jordanton, they're trying to prepare for the regular season as well, so that every team is going to get better from here on out. I think there'll be more surprises as the weeks go on. But from one week to the next, I mean, that's kind of a pretty big turnaround, for Jordanton to have a big win against Canyon Lake like that. But that's good for them. I mean, it wasn't a blowout, but man, it was a good game. It would have been a good game to be at, a good game to watch. So, hats off to Jordanton.
Yeah, it was a big win for their program, definitely. So, props to Jordanton. I don't think this says anything about Canyon Lake. I think they'll rebound next week and get back on the win streak, or on the win streak, or hopefully, because I think Canyon Lake is tough. They're tough every year. So it was a shock. It was a shock to watch them lose or to know that they lost this game. But I think it doesn't really say much. I think they'll be back next week and they'll get back on their winning track. And the last game we'll talk about on our breakdown is, of course, our game, the Rockport Fulton Pirate game, which was we were playing the high power offense of Miller. They were coming in. They were coming in undefeated. Johnny, they were 2-0, two impressive wins. One over the TM Warriors, which I expected, and then I thought that it would be competitive with Sid, but it was not. But what was interesting was they were coming in with 60 plus points on both. They had scored 60 plus on both of these teams coming into Rockport. Rockport had not practiced. There was a situation that was going on, so we played one game against the Rams because we won, but it wasn't a very impressive win. We made a lot of mistakes. We had to clean up a lot of stuff. And then we didn't practice. So I think leading up to this game, we practiced maybe 4 days. I think we practiced on a Saturday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So we were hoping for the best. But, in reality, we thought, hey, man, this is going to be really tough. But Rockford gets the win. it was an impressive win. I'd have to say that as a Pirate fan and as a person that lives in Rockport and backs up these Pirates, that this has got to be probably in recent memory the best game I've seen Rockport play. We were not supposed to be competitive in this game. We were not supposed to win. Everything was against us. It was a great. The three of us were at the game. It was a great game to watch. Rockport's game plan was great, and they come up with the win. It's great for our program. But Johnny, I know you wanted Rockport to win, but you picked Miller. Give me the breakdown. You were at the game on this Rockport win over the Miller Bucks.
Besides the refs,
At the refs, at the whole game, man, at the whole game. I know there was some issues with the refs. Yes.
um, hey, I didn't think our guys were gonna like keep up with Miller. And when we saw that first drive for Miller, scoring like less than a minute on what 3-4 plays completely across the field, that kind of was kind of scary, you know. And I got a little nervous about us not we're running the ball, we're getting free a little bit. Um, I was a little worried about not killing that play clock a little bit more. Um, I think we're snapping it a little too early, but hey, these guys, the momentum was going for us, and it's hard to stop that. You know, if you got the momentum going, it's hard to slow your ball down. So in a way, I thought it was good that we were going that way, and it was. Like I said, rushing. If we're gonna keep up with them, we're gonna have to rush. We're gonna keep the ball on the ground. Don't go shoot out with them. Of course, you're gonna have to air it out to open up the run, and which I think we did the perfect amount of passes for that game. You know, Ace was on target. You know, I don't even think I even saw a bobble in the backfield this time. Um, it was all clean handoffs. I might be missing some in there, but what we saw in that first week, I was worried about this week. You know, because we only had one game down. It would have looked better if we missed these 2 weeks in the middle of the season. Not saying I wanted it that way, but it would have been better seeing it that way than at the beginning of the season going after one game and not for a poor performance game against Aransas. Um, so that's what I was kind of expecting from us, and I was hoping that's what I was doing. Being a high part fan. Um, when you have three 100-yard rushers, that's ball control. You know, Spreading it out through everybody. So that right there is what I thought was going to beat Miller was ground ball, ground, 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 and you know I thought Miller was going to win it by the run. They're going to pull away. And I was thinking halftime, like, okay, so this is where Miller does it. So but we kept up with them the whole game. I thought Miller was going to win, but I was rooting for the Pirates the whole entire game. And as you can tell, I got a hoarse voice. So my voice was really out there for the Pirates to get pull this one off. So hey, I was very proud of these boys. That ground ball, that ground game really helped them a lot.
It did. It did. Tony, just real quick, because we'll have a podcast on breaking down the part. We'll go more in depth as we have a podcast where we talk, and we break down the Rockport Pirate game. But just kind of briefly, what was your take on? I mean, you were there for Rockport and Miller going back and forth, hell of a game. What was your take on Rockport's win?
Uh, I think if I'm gonna sum it up, um, teamwork. I mean, total teamwork. I saw 11 men on the field fighting for each other on offense and defense. There was a lot of question about our young cornerbacks. None of them started on varsity last year. You know what I mean? One of them's a sophomore, one of them's a junior. So going to get some high caliber receivers like that of Miller, man, but they did excellent. They freaking did excellent. The defensive coordinator drew up a great defensive scheme to really throw the quarterback off. I mean, man, it was just great. Total team effort. I mean, the ground game, the O line was outweighed by a few hundred pounds. You know what I mean? Same thing on the D line. They were outweighed by a few hundred pounds, and everyone just did freaking amazing. The last 4 minutes of the game, I thought the Pirates were gonna lose twice. I thought they were done. And then for the coach to put the ball in the hands of a sophomore to get that final touchdown. I mean, damn, great call. Just it just shows that they have more weapons than their 300-yard rushers. You know what I mean? I just can't wait to see what they're gonna do the rest of the season. But
Yeah,
coaching staff and everyone are really fighting for each other. That's what I saw.
yeah. I'll sum it up by saying, great game plan. We talked about what Rockport needed to do to be competitive. And they did those things. We were we were there were some concerns there because we had only seen them play one game, and that game they struggled. And it's they didn't have practice. They had a week of practice, so we didn't know how much that 1 week could help with an explosive team coming in. But to sum it up for me, this is what a great game plan by the coaches defensively and offensively, by players staying focused. And as Tony said, you don't win this without teamwork, and that teamwork, it was needed. And we had to get a couple of breaks our way, and we did. And we'll talk more about those breaks when we break down the full game offense and defense and stuff. But it took the effort of all of the team, the coaches, and this is what that type of win looks like. You're not supposed to win this game. You're not even supposed to be competitive in this game, and yet for 4 quarters, you were competitive. So much to the point that you won the game. But what it showed me about these boys is it doesn't matter what the outside world thought. They knew they could win. That's the only way you were going to win. These boys had to believe that they could win. And then they had to shut everything else out. They knew doesn't matter what Miller's done, we can win, because that you have to have that mentality to be able to win a game like this. If you don't believe it, you can win. You don't win. To make plays. I mean, we always hear that win, right, Johnny, talking about visualizing a certain play, visualizing you making a play, making that catch, throwing that ball, making that interception. And that's what these boys had to do. They had to put that through, and they did. But they stayed focused for 4 quarters. They stayed focused and won the game. So great win for the Pirates. I'll say for my Pirates, our Pirates, because we root for them. They showed a lot, and it's going to be very exciting to see what we can do the rest of the season, and hopefully we can get into the playoffs and make a deep run past the third round. I think a lot of people are going to expect that we're going to get past the third round this year, but we don't want to say anything. Got to take one game at a time. But great game by the boys. They played their hearts out, and I'm glad that they were able to get the victory. It shows that hard work pays off, and what a game plan by Coach Seibert and all the assistant coaches, because they really put a good game plan. They had that Miller defense unbalanced the whole game. They didn't know what was coming. I mean, it was different running backs, as Tony was saying. You have your three backs. You have Luke and you have Ryan and you have John out there, running the ball. But then you add Devin. You add different players that bring different styles of running. And then Rockport can throw now. And like Johnny said, we just threw the right amount of passes that we needed to. We didn't, become over aggressive with a pass. I think we had one interception. But I think it caught when we did call those plays to pass. I think that the Miller Buck they were kind of surprised. And so great win for the Pirates, man. I'm proud of them. We're 2-0, but we got another tough opponent coming this week. So it's great to celebrate over the weekend, but come tomorrow, you got to get back into that pay dirt. You got to start, digging deep down, because you got another opponent that's coming in that I think is going to be as strong or even stronger than Miller. So, but great win for these boys. They showed a lot of heart, and they're definitely going to be a team that you're going to have to be reckoned with. So, great win for the Pirates, guys. And this concludes our Week 4 breakdown of our schedule. We had some really good games. There were some surprises. We talked about those surprises, those teams that We thought we are gonna win and blow their opponents out. Did not. They lost, but hey, it's week 4 going into week 5, so we're hitting a mid-season already. Some of these teams are just going to be starting off. We'll see how they um, how they fare in their game 1. Some of our 5A schools around the Corpus area will be playing this Friday. So, in our predictions, we'll be talking about these teams as well. And the guys will be giving you their predictions on how they think their teams will fare in the regular season and see if they get into the playoffs. And so, guys, before um, we call it a night, Tony, is there anything else you want to add before we go?
No, I just want to say, football season's back, and it looks like anything could happen still for any team. I think there's some schools that will turn it around, and for the teams that are doing well, hats off, keep it up. I want to see our area in all divisions do well. That's the goal. That's what I root for. After the season's done, and we go to the postseason. I'm always rooting for our region. You know what I mean? The Bay Area. We just need to stay competitive and get each other ready. No matter who makes it. If I would like a state championship in any division from the Bay Area. Refugio wins. Pretty much every year, but I'd like to see a 3A or a 4A or a 5A championship. So. I just look for the teams around here to keep getting better and play some good football.
Johnny, anything you want to add before we call it a night?
All I gotta say is like it's obvious some teams can be beaten. This is a great week right here. We saw Taft, we saw Miller. So hey, there is no dominant teams around this area. So everybody can't be beaten around the area. And hey, I'd be rooting for those underdogs too. I like to be every competitive down here. I'm all for the young boys. That's always been in my heart. Is these young boys. We might look at it as football players, but hey, they're teenagers, man. They're all little teenagers. So the sport of football puts them in, you know, brings them up as a man. But hey, never count a team out, and hopefully some of these other teams come up winning too. Also, so hey, we'll see next week.
Yeah, absolutely. We got some good games to talk about for this upcoming Friday on our segment. It'll be week 5, and we'll be doing the predictions here shortly. But it's going to be a great week 5. It was a great week 4, and I'm looking forward to week 5 and seeing what predictions you guys will make. And we'll talk about how well we did on the predictions and who's leading on our week 5 prediction. So until then, guys, peace out. And I'll see you guys in a few days.
All right. See you later, man.